health is wealth. While trying to achieve the goal of reaching my full potential, there's 4 pillars of health that I am focusing on, and I believe that I need to focus on to get me to where I want to be. And these 4 pillars are physical health, mental health, financial health, and spiritual health. Physical health is an obvious one. That's how the word health is, I guess, brought about in day-to-day terms. It's all focused on the physical. Mental health is a big one, which is coming in now, and I'm not sure we're probably still all learning the truth about mental health. Financial health is one that obviously money is kind of a thing that people do not tend to talk about unless they've got lots of it. And then spiritual health, which is kind of something that I've only just started to look at, but for me, like, and they say in the West, the religion is dead or God is dead, which we'll go into a bit later down the line in this video. But yeah, spiritual health for me, like, I've not had a religion, but yet religion has played a little role in all, I guess. Well, for me, it's played a role in my life. I went to a Church of England school and was kind of raised as if Christianity was the truth, and obviously we're affected by Christmas and holidays and Easter coming up right now. But if we start off on physical health, and I've now recently reframed it. Not even, I guess I've reframed all of them, but the way that I'm looking at physical health now, and it's not that I was looking at physical health a different way before, but it's more that now I'm actually looking at it and considering it as something, I guess, when you're younger. And I mean, my body's still fine, but I've kind of taken it for granted that my body is what my body is and my body can do what it can do. But now I'm looking at it from the aspect and the framework of feel, perform, and look. I want my body to feel good. I want to feel good within my body. Physically, I want to be able to perform, whether that be, I mean, not even in a sports sense, but my body to be capable of, my body to be strong, physically to be fit. And lastly, I want it to look good. For my own standards, I want to be able to look at myself and be impressed that not impressed, but know the fact that I have earned the body, because ultimately you do earn the body that you have. There's no hiding from that, although you can hide it from other people. But when you look at yourself in the mirror with your top off or whatever, there's no hiding. And for me, I want to be able to look good. And in terms of physical health, the way I'm looking at it now is that I want it to be functional. I want to be strong. I want to be fit, and I want to be able to handle life in a way that whatever is thrown at me, my body can handle. And physical health is a good pathway into mental health in the way, or I guess like physiological health in dealing with stress. If I choose to put stress on my body, it makes my physical health stronger, but it also helps me and will help me prepare or deal better with stress. There's no escaping stress, but it will help me deal better with stress. And something else that I'm going to look into do is learn how to fight, learn how to defend myself, because being a rugby player and playing a rugby player, I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I've also felt, oh, do you know what, like, I feel confident within my body. I feel confident to be able to handle anything. If someone was to come at me, I feel confident to be able to handle that. But truthfully, if I came up against someone who knew how to fight, I wouldn't stand a chance. And this is not to say that I want to go out fighting, but I do feel like fighting is one of the, or knowing how to defend yourself is a key aspect of life that is probably missing. We rely on other people for everything, for our food, for, you know, our shelter. Whereas I guess if you look back far down in our history would have had to build our own homes, we've had to get our own food, defend ourselves, defend others. And I want to kind of physically pick that back up and be able to defend myself, be able to protect my family in a way from physical situations. So learn how to fight, I think, is a big one. I think as a man you should aim towards finding out what you are capable of in terms of strength. I know that's not for everyone, but from my personal view, I want to find that out. And also, if you take it back to the feel, perform, look, in terms of looking, physical health, it's your number one. Physical appearance is your number one marketing tool. If you meet somebody for the first time, whether that's, you know, in terms of dating, or whether that's in terms of getting a job, or just meeting someone, if you want to meet friends, whatever, your physical health, how you look, your appearance is what they see first. And they say that people make a judgment on you or make their mind about you within 7 seconds or something crazy like that. So for me personally, if I'm not at my full potential physically, if I'm not where I want to be in terms of looking a certain way, then off my own standards, I would be judged lowly, because not in any kind of bad way, but because that's how I would see the world. And there's a way that I expect myself to carry myself, which is not where I'm at. And if I see other people that way, then subconsciously, I'm making a judgment. And that is, knowing that I'm out there in the world and that people will be doing that back to me it's not acceptable against my own standards. Moving on to mental health. Mental health is something that I guess I have reframed. I've always seen mental health as, like, you know, depression and anxiety, but for me, it's emotions, and of course you can get stuck in emotions, but I kind of see them as symptoms to a bigger problem. So for me personally, when I've ever experienced depression or anxiety, it's because something somewhere else that I'm in control of and that I can fix is causing me to feel depressed and anxious because I'm not doing anything about it, or because I'm not resolving that problem. And the way that I've reframed mental health is kind of looking at it for me now as like a battery on your phone or whatever, and you have 100%. For you to be 100% mental health is where obviously you want to be able to achieve all the tasks in life. If I'm going after something in terms of work and I need to get this task done because at the end of the day it's going to bring me money, it's going to get me paid, and then I can help provide, or I can spend it on something that I want to buy. And the way that I look at this, the way that I can tell if my mental health is down, and it has been, and if I look back, it really has been over my life, is that if you can't concentrate or complete a task, then it's likely that, and these are simple tasks, it's likely that my mental health is depleted. So when I experienced anxiety for the one time, I was literally at home that day, and I'd set myself the task of tidying the house, tidying the apartment, a small apartment, and I was getting through like 30 seconds of whatever cleaning task it was, and then I would lose focus and get caught up in something else. And I was noticing this happening and getting super frustrated at the time, and getting quite worried actually about how anxious I was. And that kind of makes me that made me realize that it's my mental health was depleted. My mental capacity was not at a point where I could deal with these simple problems. My brain was not in a place where it could deal with sticking to a task for 2 to 3 minutes. That's how depleted my mental health was. And another way that I've kind of seen or taken into consideration for my own mental health is that if I'm relying on something to make me feel a certain way, then that is taking away my mental capacity. So for example, I might not have explained that very well, but for example, so if I need coffee every morning to make sure that I'm awake, this is because mentally my health is depleted, and it's probably because, well, no, I know exactly why. It's because if I've ever got to that stage, which I've very rarely got to in my life, but I feel like it's a relatable position to be in, is because I'm not sleeping properly. I'm going to bed too late. I'm not sleeping within the correct hours. So I'm waking up tired, and then I need coffee, and then I'm running on coffee all day, and that means I'm then staying up late because the effects of caffeine are keeping me up late and not allowing me to sleep. Me personally, I don't know if I'm very sensitive to caffeine or if just I don't drink a lot of caffeine compared to everyone else, but I'll have like a coffee a day, and I can't have that after 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, otherwise I will notice that at night time when I'm trying to go to bed. So yeah, just to pull that back, if I'm relying on coffee to make me feel awake, feeling awake is a natural state that everybody should be able to achieve. Nobody, I mean, there's probably some illness out there which means you can't feel awake, but everybody, I'm sure, should be able to feel awake without the help of coffee. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but I will talk about this. Another one, so I could talk about alcohol, but for me, these last few years, I've not drank a lot. But smoking weed, and when I was a professional rugby player, I always thought marijuana, whatever you want to call it, would have been amazing to help bring you back down after playing a game of rugby. When your adrenaline's super high, bring you out, chill you out, and help you be able to sleep. Sleep being the biggest factor for recovery. And also in social situations, which I guess is the same with alcohol. It frees you up, and it lightens you up. But if I'm in a situation, right, and it got to a point over the last year where I need to smoke a lot, but smoke a little bit of weed just to feel relaxed. That is just taking away from the power that I could achieve by actually facing the problem head on. Why is it that I can't relax? Why is it that I struggle to wind down? And it ultimately depletes my mental health. It's good for the moment. It's good that it helps me bring me down, and every now and again it's good if you have a beer or whatever, or have a little smoke, and it brings you down, chills you out, mellows you out a bit after a hard week. But if you need that constantly every day or every night, then that's taken away. Well, for one, it's not being helpful, and the reason it's not being helpful is because there's a power in facing your problems. So in me facing the problem that I'm not able to wind down, I'm not able to relax. If I face that problem and overcome it, there's power, because it adds to my mental capacity. That is another problem that I've overcome, and it essentially makes, if you're going to refer it to the terms of the battery, it makes my battery bigger. So yeah, that's mental health and how I've reframed it, and not just on the big emotions that are easy to get stuck in and easy to become caught up in, and a lot of people really do struggle with them. Financial health I've never really considered it. Like, I kind of fell into playing professional rugby, which isn't well paid, but it paid me enough to have everything that I needed or wanted. And then since coming away from rugby, and not even rugby, but having a stable job that's just there, realizing that I don't want to work a 9-to-5 job when rugby stops or whatever. And I don't think I don't want to work or have to work a 9-to-5 job. Not saying there's anything wrong against that, but what I've realized is that make some money to be able to look after yourself. The basic needs, make that money. I've always, when I had money from playing rugby, I inflated my lifestyle to the point where I was living paycheck to paycheck, spending every bit of money that I had. This was in my younger years, early 20s, younger years, like 4 years ago. Inflating my lifestyle. Every time I got a bit more money, right, I can spend that money on something else, as opposed to, for me, what my goal is now, to continue stacking first an emergency funds for if anything goes wrong, have the psychological security to know that financially my financial health is enough that I can support myself if something goes wrong. Because it's probably a stress that I didn't realize was with me, because I was like, oh, it's all right, I'm going to get paid at the end of the month anyway. But subconsciously, that's got to be something that's playing in the back of my mind, where it's, if something goes wrong here, I don't have the financial means to be able to handle that. So yeah, for me, financial health is framed as make yourself some money to be able to look after yourself. And I guess I mentioned it before, but aiming at what's good. So I've always aimed at what I wanted. I did always aim at what I wanted, and just buy that, have this because I want it. But no, hang on, take a second. What would actually be good for me? Would it be good that I have all these materialistic possessions when I'm not earning enough to, I can afford them, but not really in the long term? Because in terms of money for money, yeah, I can afford it, but there's actually other things that should be taken care of first. So yeah, financial health, make myself enough money to be able to look after my basic minimum needs for what would be good for me. And spiritual health is, yeah, this is something that I've kind of been diving into recently, these last few months. And it all, I guess, has come off the question that, is your God dead? Or is my God dead? And what is my God anyway? Because growing up, like I mentioned, I went to a Church of England primary school, and it wasn't like you are Christian, this is that, but it was, we sung hymns, like it was, everything was pointed towards Christianity. And I don't think I ever believed it. I believed that Jesus was like, to be fair, I don't even know, like, but since studying, or not studying, but learning about other religions, and seeing how that affects other people's lives. Like for me, I obviously learned about Christianity, but I never had the faith. Like maybe I believed, but I didn't have the faith that it was with me, and I didn't walk, like you could say, hand in hand with Christianity. It wasn't in my thoughts at all times. It was, oh, okay, yeah, Jesus, and this is the story of Christianity, and Christianity is a religion. And then you have Islam and all the other religions, but it kind of stepping away from religion because it was never a part of my life. It was, okay, well, we all worship something, so what is it that you worship, and what is it that my views align towards? And for me personally, it was growing up as a young man, I would worship, and not that like you have something at the altar, but what my ideal and what I was heading towards, and what was like pointing my ship of values at times, was like I wanted to be seen as a successful rugby player. And in terms of rugby, I would do all the things what looked like a successful rugby player would do, apart from maybe performing on the pitch. And then also, because there was times where I could probably go into this in another video, but I struggled with the identity of being a rugby player. So I guess I didn't want to look like a successful rugby player. I guess I wanted to look like a successful person, because of their job, but yet I wasn't performing at my job. But then also, and a thing for me was, I used to look at other mixed race guys who were a bit older than me and aim at what I thought they would be impressed at. Now, I think growing up, we all aim at what we think older people would be impressed at, but I think there's a real lack of role models. So spiritually, I guess role model comes under that, and there's a real lack of role models in that it's all turned to, well, for me anyway, it was all sports people. And I've seen this being in a professional environment. You see it, and especially as a man, I think hero worship is massive. So you worship the idea of this sports person, and you take their whole life, and as if that is how things should be. So you see that in, obviously, with pop culture nowadays, that it's how the celebrities dress, it's how the footballers dress, it's how, you know, it's the influencers, how the influencers dress is what shapes the trends and the currents of how the rest of society dresses. But just because someone is good at music, is good at sports, I realized doesn't mean that, or it doesn't mean, because we could all come to that conclusion, but it's stupid to like take the rest of their life and want to aim at that. And mine was all subconscious. And what I realized actually is I used to talk about inflate my lifestyle every month. This was like 3-4 years ago. I would like buy 4 or 5 things off ASOS every month on payday, 4 or 5 bits of clothing or some shoes or hats or whatever, something like that. But the clothes that I used to get would always be the ones that were on the mixed race male models. I would see them and think, I want to look like him. I'm gonna buy that. That is what I'm aiming at. And I didn't realize at the time, but that's what I was worshipping in a way. That was my idea of good. That was my idea of a good life. And just to touch back on religion slightly, like I can't say that I agree wholly with organized religion, but I do see the massive benefits of, and now you can't just decide to be religious. Like, I think it has to come to you in a certain way, that something deeper inside, but it gives something to aim at. And having something to aim at is better than having nothing to aim at, because you would, like, for me, I just picked up random things which weren't good for me. I was trying to find my way in the world, and I had no like moral guidance or moral kind of pole to aim at, because people can offer you like opinions, people can, your parents can tell you, your elders can tell you, but until it resonates with you, it doesn't stick. And I think that's what religion does give, and that's what I'm realizing. And I'm not religious, and I'm not assigned to a type of religion, but I can see the beauty in it. So to pull that back to spiritual health, the spiritual health is, what do you worship? And being aware of that, for me, was being aware of what am I worship? Why am I, what has led me to my values, working out what my values is, what has led me to my values, and why do I have my values? So that is spiritual health, and that is my 4 pillars of health that I am using to get myself to my full potential and my true potential. Thank you.